That's Drew.
And that's Mike.
And that's Taylor Ray.
Hi, everybody.
For our listeners, Taylor Ray is the driver and creator behind a self-titled YouTube channel where you can find motorsports content from drifting and car build series to go-kart racing and even engine teardowns using maple syrup in place of oil. With nearly 81 million views across 721 videos and a subscriber base of 514,000, Taylor has built a strong community around his love and life of drifting. Follow the links in the bio to check out more of his channel and see how Taylor follows his passion no matter what it takes, always doing it to the fullest. Taylor, thanks so much for your time today.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Super stoked about this. Yeah, man. Like we talked about before we got on the call, it was extremely easy to do the research into your channel because it really pulls you in. And I appreciate that. And thank you for that.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I've been, working at it and kind of finding, I guess, my rhythm, just kind of what I would like to watch. I've kind of figured out how to make that, and that was a really good thing for me to learn instead of trying to focus on what, might work or what's normal, like figuring out what I would like to watch. And it's always rewarding when at the end of the video, I would be willing to watch it again. And that's what I strive for. And it's definitely, I don't do it all the time, but I've been trying basically.
Well, it's apparent. I mean, just looking through the whole history of your channel, we'll talk about that. You can see how the video quality and content has changed throughout that time. And obviously, I mean, like, I feel like it just really is easy to watch. So you've done a good job of
thank you.
that goal. And you're never going to be 100% right. Like, but I would say you're definitely in a quality right there.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I've been trying.
After you graduate high school and stuff like that, getting 60%, I'm okay with something like that.
Right.
I think you're way past that in the 90s at least. So let's talk about something that has nothing to do with your channel, but I think had something very much to do with you growing up. And you're very good at riding BMX. So what was the draw to the sport of BMX?
So I think it's kind of actually a funny story how I got into BMX. So in high school, in middle school, I didn't really have like a thing. I wasn't really into sports, whatever. And I'd wear skate clothes, and kids would make fun of me. They know you're a poser. You don't skate. You wear skate clothes. And I was like, I mean, you're not wrong. And I tried to skateboard a little bit, and I just was not good at it. I just couldn't even learn to ollie. And then I had this old BMX bike, and I met a friend, and we started going and just riding around BMX together, and then got more into it, got a better bike, started going to skate parks and traveling to other skate parks, not far, just like, back then when you're in high school and you don't have a car, it's like, it's a big deal to get a ride with someone to go 30 minutes to a different skate park. But, just started riding more and more. And I just enjoyed, I don't know, I enjoyed a lot of things about it. And like looking back, I think what I enjoyed the most is like the community aspect of it, especially back in those days, hopping in an SUV with your friends. I mean, there was a place called Splendid China over in Kissimmee, and it was an old theme park about China, and it had been abandoned for years. And we would Friday night stay over at my buddy Brian's house. We'd all like sleep in sleeping bags in the shed, 9 or 10 of us. We'd pile 9 bikes and 9 people into an extended cab Ford Ranger. I mean, like 3 people in the back with their legs under the bike, 5 people inside. And we drive out there because it was about 45 minutes away and go ride there all day. And we weren't even doing anything that cool on the bikes, but it was just so fun to go with a big group of friends to this abandoned place to ride bikes. And that was probably the most fun aspect about it to me. And then trying to progress. I like trying to learn things. Like if I can't learn more, if I'm not learning anymore with something, I lose interest in it. Whereas I like doing new things just because I'm not good at them, and it's fun to not be good at it and get better. And in the beginning, you progress so much each time, and it's so satisfying, like learning a new trick or getting more comfortable or jumping something you haven't jumped. I think that kind of translates to cars and drifting and racing as well.
How far did you take that with your BMX riding?
Not that far. I had to work really hard for BMX, like I wasn't one of those people that was just like naturally decent at it. I wasn't very good at it and I had to, try over and over and over again to learn tricks. And I got decent at it for the time. But I mean, there was still just in my friend group, so many people who are like light years ahead. And I knew I'd never be there. You know, I didn't ever have any aspirations of like trying to make it somewhere with it, because I mean, I just would see these people that had been riding as long as I had, and they're freaking doing crazy stuff. And I'm like, I'm not going to be able to do that.
You could go skate or ride Big Boy. You know, Scotty Kramer's now based in Orlando, I think. And,
Right. Oh, is he?
yeah,
I didn't know that.
so. And Big Boy and Trey Jones, get back on riding with those guys in your local area. Might be fun community to see. But I definitely see that, and I could see the progression too on your channel, because when you pick up a new tool that you haven't or were very, entry level skill, that you definitely show your progress throughout that channel. I can see like welding. I've seen that major progress throughout your videos. So
Right.
you can see the drive, and I can see the correlation between those. So what was the catalyst to move you out of BMX? Was it moving towards cars?
Yeah, pretty much just moving towards cars. I've been into cars since I was a little kid. I mean, my granddad had a restoration shop, which he didn't have it by the time, I was born. I could remember, but he always had a bunch of old El Caminos and all these cars. And my dad was really into cars, and he'd always have a project car. And I mean, at like 8 years old, I was looking up different cars I could get eventually, and I remember I would calculate, like, find a car I wanted, and then like figure out how much all the parts cost that I want to put on it. This is when I'm like 10 or 12, and calculate how much it would cost. And then be like, okay, if I mowed lawns at, because I would mow lawns then like, $10, then I'd have to mow this many or work this many years, and I could afford it. I've just always loved cars. I've always loved things with a steering wheel. I don't know what it was. Like when I was a kid, I had dirt bikes, and I liked riding my dirt bike around, but I liked riding a lawnmower just as much, or a golf cart. Like I don't know why. I just liked things with a steering wheel, but I never had a go-kart growing up. So yeah, there's kind of a crazy, I had an El Camino, and then I traded that for this non-turbo Porsche 944, which it was funny because it was red, and it was like if you've seen 16 Candles, it was like the car that whatever that guy's name is drove. And everyone in high school like thought I was rich because of it. I'm like, dude, this is like a $3,000 to $4,000 car. It's like not that expensive. But I was still heavily into it when I got that car, and I wanted to just lower it and make it look nice. And then I met a friend of mine named Elliot, and through the 944 stuff, he was big into them. He had a bunch of them. And I went to his house and whatnot, and he had a turbo one, and he took me for a ride in it, and he drifted when he took me for the ride. And I was like, this is amazing. I didn't even really care about the drifting. I was just like, I'd never been in a car that fast or felt the turbo kicking in. I was like, this is so cool. And all I wanted after that point was a faster car. And I ended up with a 944 turbo through some trades. And then my friend Elliot, he had looked at the car before I traded for it. Like I had traded that red car for a 240, oddly enough, no intention of getting into drifting, got the quintessential drift car, traded it for this 944 turbo, which is like flat blue. But he told me he had thought about buying it, and he was like, it's got a limited slip diff. He's like, if I don't buy this car so that you can trade for it, you have to promise me that you'll try drifting. And I was like, all right, whatever. So that is literally how I got into drifting. I started going with him. He helped me learn how to drift, and it's pretty much game over from there.
That's a wild process, because it was more about passion and speed, and then it just by chance you got into drifting. So what was the first time drifting like?
Oh man, it was honestly pretty crazy, because I'm pretty sure the first time was with Elliot. I hadn't tried to do it myself yet. And we had gone to this spot in Apopka, and it was not a good spot to learn how to drift. It was like behind a department store, and there was a lot of curbs, and you had to do like almost this course. And I remember trying to drift, and I just remember, and it's why I can relate now to new people learning, because I remember that feeling of like tunnel vision. I could not see what was around me or anything. All I could focus on is trying to control this car that's out of control. And I let my friend Elliot drift it. And it was funny because a friend of ours was there, and she had taken a video of it. And I was like, whatever you do, don't post this on Facebook. because if my stepmom sees it, she's going to lose her mind. And then she literally posted on Facebook and said like, oh, you know, I can't post this because whatever. I was like, but that was the first time.
So I got to ask, like, from your perspective and also from the perspective of somebody that is brand new to trying out drifting, what does somebody like your buddy Elliot, who has some expertise in it, say to somebody that's going to an empty parking lot for the first time? Like, even just something like, walk me through, what are you doing with your feet, with the clutch, and with the acceleration? Because I just don't conceptually understand outside of driving, just normal everyday driving. I don't understand conceptually what you're doing with the car to make it behave that way.
Yeah, it's kind of tough because it's easier to explain to someone how to drift than how to say do a trick on a bike. Because on a bike, it's all muscle. You know, you can't really explain how to do a bar spin. Like you pull up, you throw it, you catch it. There's so much more there than what you can explain. Drifting, more so, you can explain it. And really, the basic of it are you can get it sideways by, you know, flooring it if you have enough power. Clutch kicking, which so you're dumping the clutch, you're putting the clutch in, you're revving it up, and then letting it go to like snap the tires loose. Or the handbrake, you pull the handbrake, locks up the rear wheels. And then really all you have to do, I mean, there's more to it, but all you have to do is like let go of the wheel. So when you get the car and it starts going sideways, you have to just let go of the wheel. And that's what people struggle with in the beginning is they'll try to hold on to the wheel and steer, but the wheel has to spin so much. So you can't just steer it like this, you know, because it needs to spin like 2 or 3 times to get to angle. And then you kind of just, once it gets there, you grab it, and then more throttle, more angle, less throttle, less angle, steer in, more angle, steer out, less angle. And it's just pretty much a combination of that around and around.
Is the objective then keeping the rear tires loose all of the time, most of the time?
Yeah, no, you want to, if you're drifting, the rear tires should be spinning or locked up all the time. But there's a lot more, that depending, like the objectives can change. So you can be drifting just for fun, tandeming, or competing. You know, in competing, you have a line you have to follow. You know, you have to get your bumper really close to the wall here and your front here, and you need to be at a bunch of angle and have smoke and be there's all these judging criteria. And then in like a competition battle, you have a lead and a follow driver. So basically you follow and your goal is to mimic them as best as possible. They lead and their goal is to run the line, and do like the correct line through the track and yada, yada, and style. It's a judge sport, which makes it tough. I've been doing some competitive drifting, but I've never wanted to, I mean, I've had the desire to try to go like to the Pro 2 and then Pro 1, but it's just so much money. And at the end of the day, it's a judge sport, you know, and it's definitely tough when you lose based on somebody else's opinion, you know, or some simple technicality. You know, I've lost a battle I won the battle through and through, but because like my tire touched the grass, I lost, you know?
No, yeah.
So in that sense, it can be kind of frustrating, but yeah, so there's different reasons for doing it. I mostly drive for fun, and tandeming is pretty much all I do. So it's a lot of fun because you and your friend are going to do well together. So the better they are, the better you can be with them, and the better you both do together. It's not a one-on-one, okay, I'm better than you. There's no quantifiable way to say like you're better than me or I'm better than you. I mean, if you battle a bunch of times, but it's not like racing where it's I'm faster than you, I'm slower than you. So it's a lot more community oriented. You know, like me and my friend Ben, we built very similar cars, and then we just go drive together, and we're trying to mimic each other as best as possible and literally touching our tires on each other's doors throughout the track. And it's a rewarding thing because you get done and you're both excited. It's not just you're excited because you did better or you won. You're both like, that was awesome. Like you did a great lead and I was doing a good follow, or vice versa. So it's cool because you work together when you're trying to drive for fun. When you're competing, obviously you're not trying to help the guy, but when you're driving for fun, you're trying to, if you're leading, you know, you're trying to be smooth. You're trying to not accelerate or decelerate aggressively and keep consistent angle. And you're basically trying to run the smoothest line you can to be a good moving target. And if you do that really well, then it makes it easy for them to be really close to you and you're both excited, you know?
And this is around a track. So it's like you're basically, and so Pro 1, Pro 2, and Formula Drift.
Yeah. So Pro 1 and Pro 2 are Formula Drift.
Okay.
So you basically have grassroots drifting, which is just your basic stuff. You know, going to an event, you pay to drive. You're basically paying to be allowed to go drifting on the track, and there's no competition. It's just go drift. And then you have Pro-Am, which Pro-Am, anyone with a qualifying car can get in. So like your car has the right cage and the right safety stuff. Like you could have a Pro-Am car and go enter Pro-Am. There's no prerequisite required. Gotcha. So then you have to get top 3 in Pro-Am to get your Pro 2 license. Then you go to Pro 2, and then it's top 8 in Pro 2 gets you into Pro 1. But the difficult, and Pro 2 and Pro 1 are FD. They're ran at the same tracks. Pro 2 is just half a season. It's 4 rounds instead of 8.
Wow.
But it's insanely expensive. From people I've talked to do a season of Pro 2 is, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 for a season. That's not counting the car. Oof. That's just cost, because you gotta have a couple people, a crew guy, and this, and tires, and fuel, and hotel, and parts, and all of that stuff, entry fee. And then Pro 1, it's 6 figures to run a season of Pro 1.
Man. Yeah, easily. Anything with that formula name has got to be right. Right. Yeah, there's no joke about that.
It's cool because it is. I mean, I would say that FD in America is the highest level of drifting in the world. I mean, people will win a series in another country, their biggest series, and come here and not even make it into the top 16. People come from all over the country to compete in FD. It, in my opinion, is like the top thing. So in that sense, it's really cool. You're driving and competing with the best drivers on the planet. I'm sure there's better drivers or really good ones that aren't there, but a lot of good drivers are there. But it's just so expensive.
Yeah. I definitely would like to ask you at some point, and maybe in a little bit, about like the history of that sport, because it's got to be a relatively new sport, right? It's got to only be like maybe 20 years old. Yeah, something like that.
Drifting itself kind of started like early 90s, from what I understand. I'm honestly not too knowledgeable on the origins, but I know the competitive drifting started a little over 20 years ago.
Okay. But I wanted to go back to your own beginnings in the sport and ask you, with that first experience with you sort of getting the tunnel vision and it being really difficult, was that a moment where you were like, I'm hooked on this? This came out of left field. I never expected myself to like this sport, but I'm into it now. Or did it take you some more time to warm up to it?
Oh, no, that was it.
Get better at it.
That was hooked. Yeah. No, I loved it. I mean, and it's not that I was against it before. I didn't even really know much about it and hadn't really thought about it. So it was just kind of like, it started happening and my friends were doing it and they're like, do it. And then I was hooked. And then I started going and practicing in these small parking lots near my house. I didn't know what a good drift spot was, and like hit my car into a curb and had to drive it to school with like positive camber and a broken wheel. And it was a learning curve for sure.
Yeah, that was going to be my question next, was like, okay, so it seemed like you were very passionate about your cars going into this. You meticulously laid out the parts and pieces to build the perfect car as an 8-year-old. Then you're, I don't know, 16, 17, 18 years old, and you're trading for these cars, and you get a Porsche, and you're like, oh, this is awesome. And then you're going to go do a notorious sport for damaging the vehicle. How was that like mentally for you? What was that?
I don't know. I guess just once I was into it, I just saw the car as a tool. And I mean, I did worry about it because back then, I was making like $7 an hour working at Steak and Shake, going to high school. I mean, I didn't know anyone in high school was drifting. I was going street drifting with my friends till 3 a.m. and then waking up at 7 to go to high school. Wow. And I'd have to go hang out. I have to go stay at my friend Aaron's house because I wasn't like, my stepmom wouldn't let me come home if it was after my 11 o'clock curfew, because I was 17 or whatever age I was, where you have that curfew of driving. Yeah. So I was staying at his house, go there, sleep for 3 hours, and then go to school in the morning. But I mean, I was worried about it a lot back then, and I remember my very first drift event I had done some street drifting in warehouse lots. When we say street drifting, it's not actual like on the street. I mean, there's
Right.
people who do that, but you're more so referring to, you normally go to a big warehouse lot and it's just open warehouse lot, no other traffic. But yeah, so the first event, my friend Elliot was like, "Oh, like this is gonna be a big event. You probably should pick another one." I was like, "I want to do an event. I don't want to keep messing around." You know, it had been probably like a month or two that I'd been into it. And we went there, and before my session was up, I watched two people I know crash. And it's not like they got hurt crash, but really messed up their cars. And I remember thinking like, oh man, like if I crash this car, I can't get to work. I broke it before I even really started drifting it. And it was this weird part that broke that was really hard to fix. And I had not worked on cars that much yet. So I had to do this project that would be tough now. Back then, with like minimal tools, no knowledge. It took me 2 weeks working, go to school, go to work on the car. And I had to ride my bike to Steak and Shake in the summer, which granted it was only a few miles away, you know, with my Steak and Shake outfit on. So I was real invested in not messing up the car because I didn't have another option. If my car broke, I had to ride my bike, you know, or find a ride.
Yeah, riding that bike in Central Florida heat, though, it doesn't matter if 1 mile or 2 miles or 5 miles. I was not wanting to do that.
No, especially with the Steak and Shake, like button up thick shirt with the bow tie and the apron, not comfortable.
No, that's a great segue. So you have a pretty great work history, and I think it talks a lot about your work ethic. So, you know, we talked about Steak and Shake. You did that out of necessity to be able to drive.
Oh yeah,
cool.
Yeah, just to go to school, just to go to, you know.
So you didn't have to ride the bus.
Car insurance. Yeah.
Yeah. And so from there, you kind of bounced around, but I feel like that was the first entry job that you had. Obviously you were doing like, you know, mowing lawns and some side gigs before that as a kid, but you go to Steak and Shake. And then from there, you move into the automotive world. And what was the transition from following a passion of cars and getting out of the necessity job, right? Just having to have a job, right? Going into an industry you liked. So how did you choose where to go after that?
I mean, I remember being super excited because Steak and Shake, it was not a great job. I mean, it was to this day the most stressful job I've ever had. I mean, and you would think it would be the least stressful job ever. And it's not like you take the work home with you, but it was stressful. You know, on a Friday, you watch 6 tables come in of 6 people at the same time, and you know you're going to have 60 burgers on the grill in a couple minutes, and the thing's going to be flashing at you. And I mean, there's so many days where I wanted to walk out. And I told myself, I'm not doing this. I'm walking out. And I couldn't do it because I'm like, if I walk out, I can't pay my car insurance. I can't go to school. You know, my parents didn't pay any of that for me. I had to pay it all. And so I sucked it up and I dealt with it. And I had applied online for like all the auto parts stores. And then Advanced had called me back, which I hadn't had that experience. Normally it's like the only way it seemed to me to get a job, like especially an entry level job, is like you have to apply and then you got to go in and bug the manager. So I didn't even do that. And they called me and I remember being so excited. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to work at an auto parts store. And so I went in and eventually got hired. And that was actually an interesting experience. So, you know, I started just as like normal counter person, and the commercial guy. So you have like the retail people and then the commercial manager, he sells to all the shops. And so nobody would deal with anybody but Butch, who was the commercial manager. And he started having me answer the phone. And because I knew a little bit about cars, these people could tell I wasn't an idiot and they started to trust me. So like I was the only person who they would talk to when he was on lunch. So the store manager there did not like him. And he tried to get him fired, and the district manager ended up transferring him to another store instead. So the position was open. So they had me do it for 2 weeks. And it was great. It was fine. The customers were happy. Everything was good. But I was like, why don't you guys just put me in the position? And they're like, no, we can't. You're too young. Because I was 19. And all the commercial guys are like 40, 50. You need to be more experienced. No one's going to respect you, blah, blah, blah. So they hired this guy who had 30 years experience, and he was terrible, and the customers hated him. And they ended up basically boycotting and saying, if you don't put Taylor in the position, we're going to go somewhere else. We're not dealing with this guy. So they kind of forced their hand, and they ended up putting me in the commercial position. So I remember like being so stoked on that. 19, I was the commercial manager, and I was making like $13 an hour. I went from 7 to 13. Like, it was crazy. And, that was the first time I could really buy car parts and stuff. But it was a cool experience. I knew the customers by name. I really hustled there. But I decided I wanted to go back to college. So I went down to part-time, and they kind of gave me like no hours. So I went to O'Reilly's and worked there. And then there's a whole debacle with the college situation. But basically I went for a semester, did fine. Everything was good. I had like a bright future, 75% scholarship that I got through whatever the prerequisites were for that. And basically I was going through the second semester, and my stepmom, she's a common theme. she just wasn't a fan of me for whatever reason. It's not like I was a problem. I never got in trouble. I never got so much as a write-up in school. But anyway, so she was like, my dad was like, you got to go. Like, this week, they basically like kicked me out with like a few days notice. So I had to drop out of college to get a full-time job to like be able to afford an apartment, which like I had left my good full-time job to go part-time to go to college like a few months earlier. It was kind of frustrating. But so I just ended up getting what I could, which was a job doing construction. It was commercial awnings. And, it was all right. I got to the point where I was like leading the team or whatever, which is only like 2 people. It was a small company. But I mean, that job was tough. We'd work 14, 18-hour days. You're working out in the sun all day.
Too, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. We did that for 3 months, which, we were getting paid for the drive time. So I wasn't complaining. It's 4 hours of pay for sitting in a truck, but it was a lot of driving. It was a lot of working out in the sun, and it being a small company, the boss, he not a bad overall guy, but he would have it in his head how long something would take, which would be perfect, best case scenario. But he knows that like nothing's ever done right. You get there, this is supposed to be a solid concrete wall, and it's not. Now you got to go buy different anchors and yada yada. Yeah. So they would get frustrated. He would get frustrated, like, oh, it took you guys all day or 2 days. It should have taken you 1 day. It was just like constant. And then there's another guy that worked there, and all he did was fabricate stuff in the shop 9 to 5. He wasn't out there on the road dealing with it. And they would just sit and drink beers and just kind of go back and forth about how we're doing a terrible job. But meanwhile, we're killing ourselves trying to get stuff done. So it was just a rough environment to be in. And that was the first job I quit before I had another job. I was like, I can't do it anymore. I can't do it. He told me at like 2:00 in the afternoon, you're going to leave at 2 a.m. and be gone for 3 weeks. And I was like, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. I just quit.
I want to talk a little bit about a characteristic that you've kind of brushed on a little bit here, which is, at Advanced Auto, you took the drive to go after Butch's job, right? And you wanted to get bigger, where most people at 19 are happy working the counter and doing nothing, and maybe being able to go on Facebook and Instagram while they're waiting for no customers.
Right.
It doesn't seem like that was your go-to. As well as it seems the same thing happened when you went into construction, which is you became a leader of your team immediately. So where did this drive to always, get further up the ladder or the chain come from?
I don't know. That's honestly a good question, because when I was at Advanced, I didn't intend for that to be like I wasn't there thinking, oh, I'm going to make a career out of this. And that's what part of why I went to college. I just had the revelation one day. I'm like, what am I doing with my life? It's been a year since I graduated high school, and I'm just working this job, which is a decent job, but where am I going to go from here? And so it's not like I went into it with that intention of, I don't know. I guess I guess it goes back to like, I like learning things and I like trying to be better at things. So with construction, I tried to learn, and instead of just taking direction from the person who was in charge before me and just doing what I had to do, I try to start helping and taking on more responsibility. And I guess it's probably just that satisfaction of doing better and learning more. And I learned a lot from that job, a lot of, construction skills, I guess.
Which are probably helpful now with
Yeah,
all of
definitely.
you talked about in one of your videos. You learned all like what anchors to use with certain materials.
Right.
I would imagine you learned about concrete density and thickness in that, which is probably
Right.
super helpful now that you're putting up your own shop. And we'll talk
Yeah.
about that in a little bit. But
Yeah.
yeah, that makes sense. And so you're going through all these jobs with Steak and Shake, the auto store. You worked at a car lot as well in
Uh-huh.
college. All of these things. Are you also drifting on the weekends?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like Steak and Shake, making $7 an hour. It's so crazy to think about now that I've somehow made it work. But I mean, I would go behind tire stores, and I mean, granted, these are tires they were throwing away, so they had to pay to dispose of them, but they wouldn't give them to you because of the liability. If you got hurt, you could say, "Oh, well, you gave me a faulty used tire." So we would go take these tires, dumpster dive for tires, basically, and make it work. And yeah, it's kind of crazy. I mean, there was definitely some periods, I think, because I got to this point where I had bounced around from drift car to drift car, and my friends had street bikes, and I just sold my drift car and got a street bike. And I had this other car that I had gotten this trade deal where I traded one car for two cars, and I was going to fix it up. And then I kind of realized I was never going to do that. So after doing the street bike thing for a while, I tried to get another drift car. And then I really spent from then on, like trying to have a working drift car. I had bought this car when I was working at Advanced, and I had a bunch of trouble with it, but I could have, that was the first time I could afford to buy parts. I mean, that's a lot of the reason I would trade a bit. Oh, my car doesn't have coilovers. I want coilovers. I'll trade for this guy's car that does have coilovers, because there's no way I'm going to save up $1,000 for him. So that car, I could afford to put some parts in, but it was still a problem child. And I got it over my head trying to build it with a different motor, and it just never finished it. It just sat. And then when I had to leave home, I was like up at Road Atlanta for FD, first time I'd ever been there. And my dad was like, "You got to come pick this thing up." And my dad wasn't a bad guy. He just influenced by my stepmom, trying to make her happy. Anyway, he like just pushed it out into the street with the keys in it. So I had to go get a U-Haul truck and a trailer and pick it up. And then I put it at my girlfriend at the time's mom's garage. So like I felt bad. It was there. I'd try to work on it. Never got anything done. Sold it, bought this other car that was cheaper. And the motor blew up while I was driving it around the block. And so I spent years and years, really, until the time I started my YouTube channel. Pretty much I didn't have a working drift car from like age 19. So I spent a lot of time but I was trying, I still love drifting and it's all I wanted to do, but I just couldn't get it together.
And so you left.
I wanted to ask real quick, Mike, what is
Yeah.
the process of identifying a good place to go practice? And do you run into like property managers or people that aren't happy about you being there doing the drifting in the parking lot?
Man, I could give you an hour of getting caught by the cop stories. There's some real funny ones. But yeah, no, I mean, you just basically look for an open warehouse lot, and ideally far away from houses, because that's what gets you in trouble. It's the houses. If there's a house anywhere nearby, they are going to call the cops on you because they're going to hear the noise. And spots, it's one of those things. You find a good spot and then other people hear about it, and then too many people keep coming to it, and then it gets shut down. But I'll tell you the funniest cop caught story, because it was really hilarious. We had one where it was a really cool guy, and he like did donuts in his cruiser before he left.
No way.
Yeah, but oh man. And then he caught us like a couple weeks later at another spot in the same county, and we're like, "Oh, it's you, like we can leave, right?" And he was like, "No, I'm sorry, this guy's got a trainee, he's gonna prove a point, whatever." But the funniest one, it was actually in Lake Mary, which is a terrible place to drift because it's kind of more upscale. And
yes, it is.
So we were drifting in Lake Mary, and we were there for a while. It was this lot behind. There's like a road that goes up by the highway, and you can see the road from the highway. I don't know what road it is, but it was not even a good spot. So we're drifting around there, and we go to this other warehouse lot, buy it. and there was people there. So we're like, okay, we leave. And my friend Grafton, he does like a little skid on the way out. So he was probably like 10, 12 cars ahead of us. So as we're coming up that road, it turns right, like goes up right by the highway, turns right. He takes the right. And then all of a sudden, cop car, cop car, cop car, cop car. They didn't stop him. They didn't think he was with us. So he kept going, and there was like 6 of us, and they pulled. I mean, I remember 8 or 9 cop cars for us street drifting. It was crazy. And
That's scary though.
yeah, that was a bad choice. So then my buddy Raldo, he had this little S10 at the time that he would drift, and it wasn't really a drift car, but he put posi in it and whatever, and we had like purple wheels on it was clearly something we were drifting. But we're in a truck. This is the second time I had got caught, and I still hadn't learned my lesson to just be honest. That is a lesson I learned. Just tell them the truth. Tell them you're drifting. So anyway, we try to lie. We're like, well, we were just there watching, we weren't doing anything. And the cop got so mad at us, and he was just screaming at us and cursing at us. And he's like, I went to pick my phone up, and he's like, put it down or whatever. So he gets the sheriff to come over, and he comes over and he's like, oh, that place you guys are tearing up? He's like, they give books to children so they grow up and don't do stupid stuff like this. He's like, you're trespassed from Lake Mary. No, you're trespassed from Seminole County. You come back to Seminole County again, you're going straight to jail. If you need to go to Orange County, you got to drive around. They will run your plate and they will take you to jail. Because we lived in Volusia County across the river. I didn't put this together. We're freaking out. We're like, we drifting just ruined our lives. How do we go to Orlando now? We're trespassed from this entire county. And we get back to Elliot's house at like 3 a.m. We're like, did you guys get trespassed too? I'm like, what do you mean? No. And we're like, what? You didn't get? And then we realized we were the only ones from a different county drifting in their county. And it wasn't true. Like, we didn't sign any paperwork, but we bought it.
Yeah.
We bought it.
Yeah.
They put the fear of police in you, but I'm sure that it taught you some kind of lesson, like what to do. Maybe even just tell the truth.
Tell the truth.
Yeah.
Just tell them the truth. Cops hate nothing more than you lying, and they know.
Yeah. I could say the same thing about skating, and I'm sure you figure the same thing about BMX. Like, just tell them the truth. They usually are pretty cool with you most of the time. If you're being a dick, they're going to be a dick too.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's a common theme with anyone. If you're a jerk to someone, they're probably going to be a jerk to you no matter what.
And if you lie, they're going to if they know, they're just going to hate you for it.
Seriously. Oh, yeah. It's just like making friends. If you lie to someone, they're just like, don't need to be this best friend. So you leave that job, and because of this is one thing that I think got you to your next job, which was at that point, I would imagine one of your dream jobs to do, working at BC Racing. And I think the one thing I want to touch on this, because I want to move to the YouTube channel, and this is what got you there, right? This job. But getting this job came down to one thing, and it was networking.
Yeah.
And so if you were to tell the people listening to this, people who aspire to drift and be in the industry itself, what's the best way to network within an industry like drifting?
I mean, really the key is just to do it. Like, I didn't network intentionally, I drifted. I had other friends that drifted, and then, you all start to meet each other and you start to know each other, and this guy knows this guy and that guy knows that guy. And, that's like the best way. Like, if you try to network not like with the wrong intentions, I feel like it's just not going to work. It only works if it's genuine. And it's just by doing whatever it is, if you go drifting, you're going to end up, if you're an outgoing person, you're going to know everyone there, and then you might find out that, this company that sells parts is hiring because one of the guys that works there. But again, I feel like it's got to be genuine, because I was friends with Chelsea Denofa, and it just came up that there was a job opening, and I almost didn't get that job because of the guy that would sit and drink beer with my old boss, because he called and he knew the hiring manager and told him I was a terrible employee, and they almost didn't hire me. My whole life would be different. The only reason they hired me is because I kept going back. I was like, please hire me. I want this job.
Persistence at its best right there. And I feel like that's common throughout your whole career in life. It shows. So you're working there, right? You eventually get this job because you prove yourself that you're not this terrible employee.
Right.
And then you're working there for 5 years in technical support, right?
Yes.
And so
Yeah.
working on warranties. You said you were working on some testing and writing some reporting on the kind of engineering side of what they're releasing, which is
Right.
really cool. I'm sure that like for you, you know, getting to kind of work on cars, but now you're working on professional level drift cars to put
Right.
on new and I guess like new parts that they're releasing. That's got to be a pretty cool thing to do. But you get introduced to YouTubers through this kind of business. So is that what drew you to the next step, which is starting your own channel?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So I met Adam because I did a lot of the test installs on new cars. And also, like, sometimes we'd have to do it on like a customer car, you know? That was odd. That was abnormal, but they had sponsored him coilovers and we were installing them for him. I had no idea that YouTube in the way that it is and vlogging or YouTubers, I didn't know any of that. I had no idea that existed. I thought YouTube was for like fail videos. And so Adam showed up and he had a BMX bike. And I was like, hey, can I try it? I haven't rode in a while. And I did a 360 and he was like so surprised that I could do that. And so we started chatting and he was telling me how he wanted to get into drifting. And I was like, it's a lot of fun and kind of telling him, what he might do. And he just hung out with me while I worked on the car. So I was like, I still have my bike. I've been meaning to go ride again. I just haven't done it. So I went and rode with them. I think we had hung out maybe a couple other times, but we went and rode at the skate park in downtown Orlando. And then we went to Gringos Locos, which is like his favorite place. It's amazing.
Oh yeah,
Um,
OSP.
yeah, we went to OSP
That's a great.
and we went to Gringos Locos because it's
Yeah,
like right there. And he just told me, we were talking about it and he was telling me about it. And I was like, that's crazy. I've never even heard of this. I didn't know you can make money on YouTube. And he's like, you should start a channel. I'll help you. He's like, I'll help promote you, get you off, get you on your feet, get your channel going a little bit. And, like you should do it. And I was like, I had never thought of it. And I remember thinking like I've never really thought about doing this. I don't think I'm like a camera type personality, but I was like, this is a good opportunity. I might as well try it and just see where it goes. Worst case, I have some videos of my stuff, whatever.
Mhm.
And that's how it all started. So without Adam, I would never have started. I mean, maybe nowadays I would have started one because it's like as common as an Instagram almost now.
yeah.
Um, but definitely not when I did, and not to the level.
And how far into that was it in your career at BC? How
I
how how
think
long were you like working there and doing YouTube?
so. I was working there for I think probably 3 years when I started YouTube, and then I worked full time and did YouTube for at least a year plus. And then I was like, man, I really need to dedicate more time to YouTube. So they let me go down to part time. So I'd work till like 3 o'clock because in the winter, it's like I get home and it's dark. So it's hard to make videos. People are like, why are all your videos in the dark? Because I have to work. Um, so I started doing it part time. And then when I decided to take the leap to full time, the big kick that made me do it was Ben had bought a house with a shop. And it was basically like pretty cheap rent to go live there and have, space in a shop and a house and room for cars and whatever. But it was far, it was an hour and a half away. So there's no way I could keep working my normal job. Otherwise, I probably would have kept doing it. And, we had been planning it out for a few months. Everything was planned. I told BC, I'm going to leave at this time. And like the month that I was leaving, my channel was doing the worst that it had since
Oh,
I
no.
started. And I was like, what a terrible time. I was so nervous. I was terrified to go to YouTube full time. I was so, I thought about every possible outcome because I've always been, I guess kind of like growing up, having to pay my car insurance and getting kicked out and all this stuff. Like I, I always try to have a backup plan. And I know that like, I've got to make it happen. Like there's no one to fall back on for me. So
Mhm.
I've got to make sure that I'm good. And I've thought all the way through it, well, worst case, so I'm living out here and rents this much. I could go work at a gas station if I had to. I really was scared to do it. And I mean, even still now, there's the uncertainty of it being what it is, but I'm a little more confident in it now that it's going to be fine. But it was a scary step. And, if I hadn't made it, I mean, it paid off for sure. It was definitely so worth doing. I think if I hadn't done that, my channel wouldn't have grown as much as it has, and I wouldn't have been able to do as much as I have, and everything would be different.
One aspect of starting your channel that you mentioned just a couple minutes ago in one of your answers, and also in the pre-call, or just like right before we were on this call, I should say, is developing your on-camera personality and identity. And I can sort of relate to that because I don't really enjoy watching myself on camera. I don't enjoy like going back and
Right.
listening to things that I've recorded of myself. And it's just a strange concept. So how did you develop your on-camera persona? It seems like you sort of had that same initial reaction to it. Like, what am I going to act like on camera? What am I going to do?
Yeah, no, it was hard. It was really hard at first. I remember like just struggling to like talk into a camera, and I forget about that sometimes now. And I'll film a friend and I'm like, why are they acting so weird? Like, why are they nervous? It's just a camera. And like, I think the biggest thing for me was putting the realization of, okay, yes, I'm talking into a camera right now, but I'm talking to a bunch of people later on, and just like thinking of it as if I'm talking to those people right now, as if they're there with me, made it a lot easier than, I don't think of it as like filming myself or talking to a camera. I just think of it as like talking to the people that watch my videos. Cause they comment, I read the comments, and it's almost like having a person there. And I think that helped. And in the beginning, I tried really hard. I never wanted to be seen as fake, or, I never wanted to be this guy who wasn't, was one way on YouTube and totally different in real life. And that's something that's always been important to me. And all my friends, have said like, you're the same person in real life, like as you are on YouTube, because they have, something that have watched my videos and stuff. And that's important to me. I don't want a friend of mine to watch my video and be like, ooh, cringe, like I can't do this. But it was hard because at first I was less enthusiastic than I would be in real life, because I was like, oh, I'm filming, I got to be normal or whatever. And then I finally am to the point now where it's just like as if I was talking to a friend that was there. The enthusiasm that I have or don't have in a certain situation is pretty much exactly like real life. I've kind of gotten through that phase of like it not being, you know what I mean? Like going back and forth and not knowing whatever. I never wanted to be fake or dramatize anything.
You can tell though, because you the way you discuss things to the camera is exactly how you just said it. You're saying like, oh, hey guys, like look at this, I just found this. So it's like you're having a conversation with a friend. It just happens to be 514,000 of them, right?
Right.
So you definitely have that presence. I think that's pretty apparent in the video. So I picked that up and I had that as a note here. Like, how do you become like so developed in that? And I'm glad you asked that question. So one question I have is, 4 years ago, and this is kind of on the same topic, right? 4 years ago, you filmed a video. It was called A Week in the Life. And then you're actually going to release another video called A Weekend in the Life.
Yeah.
And so, over the last 4 years, what are some of the major things? Obviously, not just like yourself, but what are the major things that have changed from that style video, that type of video, that video that you released, and today?
I think in the beginning, when Adam told me to start a channel, I again didn't know anything about vlogging, or I hadn't seen it, I didn't know what that was. And I was like, okay, I'll have a tripod, I'll film how-to videos and stuff. I didn't really know what I was going to film. And then I started doing it, and then I was like, oh, okay, like you vlog, you just film your life. And I tried that, and I was like, that's what Adam does, that's how people do it, you just film your life. And I wasn't good at it. That wasn't me. And then I watched, I'm often influenced by what videos I'm enjoying watching. So then, I really enjoyed Casey Neistat's videos, and I kind of tried to do that, like put that effort in to, set up a shot and then move the camera in closer when I hit a light switch or whatever, and make like little cinematic intros. And I would spend so much time to make I would film a different intro every video of like just me going out and getting set up with all this music, and nobody appreciated it. People were just, I mean, some people did, but people just like didn't like it. They're like, you need to cut these intros, like get to the point. And I was like, man, why am I doing this? But so I really bounced between different styles, honestly, because I kind of tried that and I was like, this doesn't really work for me and what I'm doing. And then I tried kind of the more traditional where it's like, all right, like, you know, film, okay, I'm going to put this power steering pump on. And then next clip, power steering pumps on. All right, I put it on. You can see the line. And that just didn't work for me because I don't get enough done by myself to make a video that shows none of the work. And I just realized like the whole goal when I first started, what I thought I was going to be doing is like showing myself working on cars. And here I am doing this route where I'm just filming. Okay, I'm going to do this. Okay, I did it. Okay, I'm going to do this. Okay, I did it. It's just me talking the whole time with stuff happening. So I really tried to focus on filming the work, like filming myself working on the car, like taking the bolts off, taking the wheel off. And I mean, it's been a hard balance to put in enough and show enough of the work, but not just like draw it out where it's, you know, a 30-minute job and you're watching 30 minutes of it, you know. That was definitely a hard balance to find. And I'm really happy with like the balance that I've found at the moment. And I'm sure it'll change, you know, in a year I might enjoy not like doing it that way and like doing it this way. But I think one of the main things that'll stay constant is trying to show the work, because there's not a whole lot of car channels that do that, because I mean they're entertainers, a lot of them, you know, they have these really big personalities, they've got a lot going on, like their videos would be an hour long if they showed the work. So I think that is what differentiates me, is that I do physically show what I'm doing instead of just, okay, we did this, all right, whatever. And I enjoy that. I like watching them. When I wasn't doing that and I was just doing the like, okay, we're going to do this. Okay, we did it. I would never, I hated even having to watch them through after I edited them. I just didn't like them. I wasn't happy with them when I posted them. I wasn't like, yeah, now I'm like, oh, that was a solid video. Like I got a good amount of progress done. Like, you know, whatever, it was filmed all right. And I'm happy with it. I'm more proud of what I'm putting out, I guess.
I like that you go ahead, Drew.
Go ahead, Mike. Yeah, you go ahead. Go ahead.
I like that you said it's just a quick thing, is the Casey Neistat style, because in a lot of the early videos on your channel, I think your friends were like playing with you a little bit, because they would always be like asking you, oh, is that what Casey Neistat does? And like they're kind of joking towards it. So it makes it very true, and it shows that there's a very genuine side to the channel. I picked that up when you said that. It was pretty nice. Go ahead, Drew.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, at what point in your YouTube career and in making that decision to go into it full time did you start recognizing this was a good decision? That my initial fears about, oh, the channel's doing bad, this is a terrible time for me to do all this, I should be worried about it. When did that switch over, and when did the channel start finding success?
That's honestly a really good question, because I didn't really think about the fact that like, oh, this was a really good decision until recently, you know, because I was just so focused on like trying to keep things going and do better and do more and get more done. I just didn't even really think about it. And just one day, I mean, probably 6 months ago, maybe, it dawned on me. I'm like, man, it really is a good thing I left my normal job, because YouTube's doing, you know, 5 times better or more than it was when I was trying to work my normal job too, because I've had more time to make more content and get more done and do more stuff. And it really just didn't dawn on me for a while, but it wasn't great at first, because that whole, like, I was being super monotone, and like, and it was when I'd first moved in with Ben, so I didn't know him that well. You know, I knew him. We drifted together. We played The Sim together. But, you know, we didn't hang out a lot before that. He lived 3 hours away. And, you know, it was like awkward for me to film in front of somebody else and yada, yada. So it took me a while to get comfortable there, and in general, and just get comfortable again. And I think what really, my channel was like, kind of like ups and downs, like kind of consistent, but like not great. And there'd be like some times where like I'd have good content where, you know, I get a new car and that was exciting and it would do well for a bit. And then as a whole, you know, it dropped down and it wasn't doing bad, but it wasn't doing like good either.
Mhm.
And then I think what really changed that was, I was trying to put out like 5 videos a week and whatever. And it's just like a video wouldn't have anything in it hardly, because it's, a day of me working on the car and filming it. You don't get that crazy amount of work done. So
Yeah.
I started trying to, okay, I'm going to do it every other day. And now it's like, it might take me 3 or 4 days to finish all the projects to make what I'm happy with as a video, where I've gotten enough done and I feel it's fulfilling. But I've gotten over that. Like, I've got to get content out or people are going to stop watching. And it's honestly been better. There's times where I don't post a video for 4 days because like I didn't get it done. But I know I'm going to be happy with the video. I'm not going to be like, man, really only did like 2 projects to the car in that video. It's kind of a crappy video. And it seemed to have paid off. Like, it seems like, the videos are consistently getting way more views than they ever have before. And really just like since I moved in here, it's done a lot better than it had before. So that's definitely nice. But I mean, even that fear is still there. With buying a house, it was a fear. It was like my whole goal was to buy a house like so cheap that if I had to go back to working at BC, I could easily pay for it by myself.
Yeah.
And I was like, it's not feasible for me to do that and get all this stuff I need to do more with YouTube and my life. So that was definitely a scary thing and a hard balance to find. Like, okay, am I willing to risk buying a more expensive house to have all the, it's the same thing. It's the same thing as leaving BC. As leaving BC,
Yeah.
it was like, okay, I've got this consistent paycheck, this job. Worst case, I can go back to full time there. Is it really worth leaving that to have a few more hours every day? Like, is it worth it? Same thing. So it's so far it's been good, but I'm kind of not superstitious, but I always hate saying like, oh, things are going great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Try to
Absolutely.
avoid it.
So when you're looking at producing content, do you keep like a note on your phone or write down in a book like what you want to do, the projects that you want to accomplish, or is it just kind of like I walk out, I know I got to produce a video in 4 or 5 days, 2 to 5 days, I guess, and here's what I want to do today?
Yeah, definitely don't write it down. There's definitely ideas that I'll have, like, oh, I want to make a video like on the tools you need to start working on cars, and I'll write it down, and maybe one day I'll have some time and I'll do it. And I really honestly need to get back to that. I haven't done that in a while, and I have a few that I'd like to do. Um, but no, I basically, it just kind of goes off like what parts I have. It's like, okay, I just got the fuel pump in for the Safiro, so now tomorrow I can do the fuel pump, the fuel system, put the intake on, do this. Like, that'll be enough for a video. And then I try to stick to that. If I don't get that done in 2 days, then the video goes 3 days or whatever it takes, for me to get that segment of work done. But yeah, it's just pretty much like seat of the pants, really. Oh, well, I mean, sometimes I'll have it planned out like a few days in advance. Like, I'm going to work on the Safiro for probably 2 videos worth of time, and then I need to knock this out on the Miata because I got this event coming up. It's pretty much just as I go. Oh, got some more parts in, I can work on that. I'll film that.
I guess that makes sense in the channel sense because that was weirdly phrased. But like you're ordering things and you got to wait, 2 to 5 days, maybe more in the current time. So you're like, okay, well, I forgot about that. What's in front of my head? Oh, I got this package. Here's the 3 things I can do. So that does have a good cadence for the channel. And you mentioned the tools video. So of the 712 videos you have, that's my favorite video that you posted.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think it's extreme. If you're listening and you want to have your own garage or you want to start working on your own cars, this was the most thorough and detailed video on like what you actually need, what the functions of the tools are, and what to spend your money on. Because I feel like there's so many of like videos that are bashing Harbor Freight or saying Harbor Freight's great, or you need to get
one side or the other.
Yeah, and you're very much down the middle. You're like, you couldn't. This is the one tool of these 5 that I'm showing you that you do not skimp on, right? So I thought it was very, very good. So if you're, I think it was like 40 minutes. It wasn't that bad.
Yeah, my videos are always so long. I try to make them short, but I just can't do it. It was pretty cool. There was a few people who like would send me like an Instagram story, and their shop teacher was playing my video. And that was such a cool thing to me. I'm like, in a school, they're playing my video. Like
That's awesome.
that was really satisfying and exciting to hear that. And it's tough because I have more videos like that I want to make, but it's kind of like not the normal theme of my channel. So I'm like, I don't want to like annoy people by making this video because those kind of videos are really, they're for subscribers in a sense, if that's what they're interested in, but it's really a video that's going to appeal to people who aren't subscribed, don't really care what you got going on in your life. They just are interested in that topic. And it's hard to bounce between those two types of videos, like doing, and that's a hard thing with titling and thumbnails too. A lot of people, and I used to go for like the immediate, like, okay, this title, people who subscribe or random people, they're going to be excited to click on that because they're going to wonder what it is, or it sounds crazy. Whereas now I title them as just what they are. Like I had a video, my last video was I got a lawnmower, and the video, instead of being like, craziest adult item I've ever bought with it all blurred out, I was just like, I bought a lawnmower and fixed it up, and that's it. And that kind of is to appeal to like the long-term views, that way someone who stumbles upon that video and has never seen me or my channel, like they're not going to care what crazy thing I just got because they don't even know who I am, but they might be interested in seeing a lawnmower get fixed up. And it's more straightforward, I guess. And I've kind of gone more towards that, I guess.
That's funny you mentioned that too, because that was one of the videos I went to in my research today. And one of my favorite comments was one of the comments. It was one of the higher up content or comments, but it was like, Taylor posts a 30-minute video of himself cutting the grass. Then it says like, everybody in the subscriber base is like, hell yes, I'm going to watch this. Like, that's so great. Funny. That's great feedback on the kind of community you're building with your YouTube subscriber base for sure.
And it's sorry for the glitch there, guys. I was just saying that, there's so many videos out there that are explaining how titles can be better, how to attract more people. And the way you laid it out is just so simple, but it makes so much sense. And there's such a draw to it. Like, it truly is exactly what you're going to watch. There's nothing to hide. There's no clickbait. You know exactly what you're getting into. So I love that. I love that titling concept.
Yeah, it's definitely like appealing and attractive to clickbait. Like, you're like, oh, I want to do it. I want to do it. But I feel like in the long term, it hurts you. It might be better in the short term. The video might get more views in the first 2-3 days a week. But in the long term, you have a much better shot of it getting a ton of views if it's just what it is. Mm-hmm. I mean, I had a video. Well, I guess that one was kind of clickbaity, but like fixing a trailer video, and I guess one of them was clickbaity and it did well. I guess it could go either way. I was gonna say I had a video where I was just like, I'm fixing my steel deck car trailer, and it got a lot more views than my normal videos at the time over a long period of time. Maybe in the first month or two, it attracted a lot of people who don't normally watch my channel. But I did do a clickbait one, and that was like my first 1 million view video. So I guess it can go either way. I just prefer to just be straight up with it. I try to.
It seems like with it going either way, like it seems like you can go the clickbait route, and that's sort of the being fake route. But then there's like the very genuine route, and that seems to attract like the very niche people, and the people that are like, I want to watch something specific on YouTube, and I want to watch somebody who's really passionate about speaking about it.
Right.
I sort of noticed that with your highest viewed videos, that it was, there's the maple syrup one, which that's obviously going to get some attention just because that's a crazy concept, and who wouldn't want to watch that?
Right.
But then one of the other top ones was like the top 5 must-do fixes on an LS engine, and it's like, okay, that's like very hyper specific, and that's not going to generally appeal to the general YouTube population, but a ton of people have watched that nonetheless.
Right. Yeah, no, it's interesting. And one thing that does suck about, like, if you have a video like the syrup video go viral, like that was a funny video and that was a fun time, but that definitely doesn't represent my channel. And like, sure, I got a lot of views off it at the time, but there's probably a lot of people who saw that video and were like, oh, this guy's silly. He's a loser. Like, what is he doing? And then now every time they get recommended a video, they're like, no, he's that guy who like put syrup in an engine. Like, I don't want to watch that. and I did something I didn't think about before, like, because
It is like a double-edged sword of going viral. Like
yeah,
you garner
depending on what
attention.
goes viral.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's what's tough, because like I made a video of all the cars I bought. In that video, I expected it to be 30 minutes long. It ended up being like an hour long, and it got like, I don't know how many views, but like 600,000 or 700,000 views. Blew my mind. I had no idea, and I don't even try to think of what will or will not get a lot of views now, because you just don't know. Like you have no clue. My plasma cutter video, that was just,
Yeah.
I was like, maybe it'll get some decent views, and it's like crazy 2 million views or something, but it's, at least that one, I'm not mad about it. Like, not that I was mad about the other ones, but like the don't buy a used car if this happens video I had, I think that was the first one to 1 million, and it was just not a good video. Like I didn't expect it to get a bunch of views, it's just like a video I put out to put a video out. And it's like definitely a bad representation for my channel. And the plasma cutter video is better because it was kind of more like how I film my videos. But that one was interesting because that was like the first viral video, or not viral, but for me, for my channel by far, double the views of any of my other videos. And it's just so interesting. It's interesting when your views go past the kind of subscriber base realm, because you start to notice it in the comments. The subscriber base realm, usually nice, happy comments, insightful, constructive. And then when you get outside of it, you start getting all these random rude comments. And what it is just like that person has no clue, any background about you, and they're judging everything about you off that one video that they probably didn't watch all the way. And they're coming up with some opinion. I've had people call it like, oh yeah, trust fund kid with your big truck and big wheels. It's like they have no clue that it's really the total opposite of that. But that's just because they're judging me off that one video. And that's why you get, so I mean, that is the tough side of like having videos that do well, is like you have to accept that there's going to be a lot of hateful comments, because people are going to judge you and everything you did off that one video. And the majority of people want to assume you're an idiot. No one ever wants to give you the benefit of the doubt. Viewers, like subscribers, do. But, if they see you do something and they think you should have done it a different way, they're going to tell you you're an idiot. You should have done it a way. Why didn't you do it like this? And it's like they don't even think maybe he had a reason. Maybe he didn't do it like that for a reason. There's a lot of times where I'll explain in a video, oh, I did it like this because I didn't want to do it like this because I can't because this. And then I'm like, that's 2 minutes of like a very specific why I didn't put this bolt in a certain way. I'm going to take it out. And then I get like 50 comments and people are like, oh, you should have put the bolt in the other way. Freaking idiot. Gosh, I thought you knew stuff. Obviously you don't. And I'm like, I assumed you'd be able to see that it wouldn't fit, It's interesting. It's just interesting.
This is sort of why I have a lot of respect for the people that take the genuine route to building a persona on their YouTube channels, like just being straightforward and saying like, this is me, because the stakes are so much higher. I feel like you are legitimately just putting yourself out there for the world to come and judge based off 5 minutes or maybe 30 seconds of a clip, versus if you're just creating this like fake on camera persona, then no skin off my back. If they don't like the persona, it's cool. I can just go be myself off the camera anyway. But like,
that is a good point. I didn't even think about that.
Respect for that, for sure.
That is a good point. Yeah. No, it makes it way easier. You're like, oh, whatever. They don't like my persona. That's fine. That ain't me.
But those are the people who have a lack of balance. I think you have a good balance of like clickbaity, which is you have to have that because you have to draw.
You have to have something that like attracts them.
Yeah, and you have to attract new subscribers because you always want to grow the channel. So there's got to be a little bit of clickbaitiness, but there's got to be the truth. And if it's all clickbait all the time, then there's no cares in the world. There's no balance. They're on one side of the spectrum where you have a really good balance of that. Now, one of the things that is a little bit, it's not super clickbaity, but I think it's a little drawing is your profile picture. There's got to be a story there, and I'd love to hear that.
Oh, it's just SEMA. First time I went to SEMA, there was like a Liberty Walk Lambo and then a little Power Wheels Lambo. And Chelsea Denofa, the one who got me the job, was like, oh, go like crouch behind it and I'll take a picture. It'll look like you're driving it. And that was it.
That's awesome. Exactly.
That's an old picture.
I love it. I love it, man. It's a great draw.
I might steal your thunder a little bit
Go
here
for it.
about one of these questions, but since we're sort of on the topic of, what garners attention on a YouTube channel, what is capturing your attention on YouTube, especially who are some of your favorite like car and automotive channels that you like to watch?
So it varies like what I'm into. I mean, like there was a time where I watched this channel SV Delos, and it's like this group of people, and the group has kind of changed. But anyway, I mean, the videos go back started like 6 or 7 years ago, and they sail around the world. And like they end up picking up different people along the way, and they really work really like their videos are all super like well filmed and well edited. They're all over like a week's time. So anyway, I got really into that, and when I get into things, I have an addictive personality. That's why I don't do any drugs or anything. Because when I get into something, I get into it. And I was like dead set on buying a sailboat and sailing around the world after watching this. But anyway, I was really into that for a while. And then again, it kind of bounces around. Like right now, I'm into no prep drag racing. I watch a lot of 1320 videos. And then another guy I watch, kind of random, this guy, Andrew Camerata. So he's like by trade he has like excavation equipment, like skid steers and stuff, and like does driveways and excavation and whatever, and he works on them, and he has like jet skis and stuff, but he is the king of making a video fulfilling. His videos sometimes will be an hour long, but let's say he makes a video buying a truck. Normal person, oh, look, I bought a truck. Walk around, here's the truck. Next video, towing with the new truck. Look, we're towing with the new truck. Next video, and I do it because I can't afford to wait a month. He'll wait 3 months and build up 3 months of videos on this truck and then make one video. Oh, wow. So it'll be like, bought the truck. Okay, we're using the truck. All right, we broke this on the truck. We're fixing this on the truck. Oh, I'm going to upgrade this, using the truck again. It's crazy. It's crazy. Like he has videos of him like buying a jet ski off Facebook Marketplace and literally like rebuilding the whole jet ski and like 2 other jet skis and riding them and breaking them and fixing them all. And if you click on one of his videos, you're not going to leave empty handed. You're not going to watch and be like, wow, they got a little bit done, and then they're halfway through that and they just quit. If he's posting a video, he's finished the project. And I was inspired by that myself. So I really like his stuff. His videos are good. And he has like a crazy view to subscriber rate. He has like 600,000 or 700,000, and he does not clickbait at all. He doesn't even like capitalize. He'll be like, fixing an excavator. Million views. You're like, what? But he deserves them because he films the third person stuff, like it's not just like handheld. All right, I'm doing this. It's like he'll film himself hooking up to the trailer and loading the excavator and then pulling into the job site. So he had to get out, go put the camera there, get back in, drive into the job site. His videos are awesome. It's definitely whatever you're into, but I really like his videos because it's like you see it's like you're seeing it. You're there. It's not just like some guy with a camera pointing at his face the whole time. So anyway, I like his videos. I haven't watched any in a bit. I haven't watched much YouTube at all. I'm hooked on Netflix. I get stuck on shows, but yeah, I bounce around. I mean, I like Cletus's videos because he's a great person, and he's always got great people around him. He's just a genuinely awesome dude. So it's like, I enjoy his videos because I know that even though it is like a persona, like he is who he is, he's not fake on YouTube in the sense of like pretends to be genuine, isn't, pretends to be nice. Like he is just the most like thoughtful person. Like he just wants everyone to be happy and everyone to do well and everyone to have fun. So anyway, I watch his videos too. I'm trying to think if there's anybody else. I don't really watch a ton of car stuff unless I'm like, okay, it's a new hobby, just because I do so much car stuff and have done so much car stuff. I kind of just avoid car stuff. Not avoid. I don't know. Like I don't know much about drag racing. So like I've been watching a lot of drag racing videos because that's something I know nothing about.
I've got a question about Cletus. I'm glad you brought him up because I feel like he's a great, he collaborates a lot with a lot of YouTubers.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I've always wondered, from a viewer's perspective, everyone's got great camaraderie. They're all kind of hanging out. They're getting ready. There's a lot of things going on. And from someone who's been on his channel, right? You were at Burnout Rivals in 2020 this year.
Yeah.
What is the vibe on the track itself, behind the scenes? Is it truly a group of great friends getting together, and what's the camaraderie like?
Yeah, I mean, like the Burnout Rivals, and I did the Freedom 500 and the 2.4 hours of late mullets. Those, since they were like pay-per-view events, it was like, I guess, a little different. Not anywhere near like a TV production, but just like, all right, we're gonna be live on the air, we're gonna do this thing. But like when I've been in his videos, it's just like, go hang out at the track. All right, I'm gonna film an opening clip. Cool. I mean, that's it. That's like, there's no setupness. Like, okay, we're gonna go stand pose over here, get this picture, and then we're gonna drift. We'll do 2 laps and make sure we get footage. It's just like the only thing we plan is like, okay, let's film our opening clips. Okay, now let's go drifting, and whatever happens, happens. Oh, we're done drifting. Cool. In the video. But he's just like, I can't say enough about him as a person. He is, I mean, he helped me out for so much, and I didn't, I didn't even ask him to, he's just, and to everyone, he's so good to his employees. Like his friends are his employees, but he treats them like friends. I've never seen him do something, tell someone to do something he couldn't do himself. Like he has people there that technically work for him. And instead of being like, hey, change the tires on the car, I want to go drive some more, he just goes and changes the tires on his car because he can do it. And that, I was just like mind blown by that. He's a really good dude. So
I think that's he came up a very grassroots way. He made a channel himself. So it's like, I feel it would be the same way with you if you bought a Freedom Factory or anything like that. You would do the same thing, because like, first off, you probably want to know it done to the way you like it, and you want to manage that, and you're just used to doing that. So why not do it?
Yeah, it's just like it's not about people serving him. It's just like they're all serving the common goal of like having fun, I guess, if that makes sense.
Yeah, living the dream of following the dream. His dream was to build the channel, and he did it, and everything he's doing is just doing the same thing. Build the channel, grow the community.
Yeah, exactly.
And you can see that he bought that whole the Freedom Factory for that whole purpose and reason. I'm super stoked that you get to go and do it, because it's cool to see a lot of things and hear the truth behind the people. Because someone once said that it's don't ever meet your heroes. Yeah, he's the hero that you could meet and you would not be let down. So I could, and Drew, I don't want to speak for you, but I would say the opposite from our podcast, because every channel we interview, we watch, and we fall in, we want to watch more of it after. And I could say the exact opposite, because every person we met has been so amazing, so genuine, and so true. So I think just, if the hero is the wrong person, they're just the wrong person, right?
Yeah, I mean, and it's tough too with YouTube. I mean, there's times at events where, my car just broke and is pouring oil out 2 laps into the event, and I'm trying to figure it out. I mean, luckily my Miata doesn't break much. So let's say the RX-7, it breaks. And, I'm jacking the car up and I'm trying to get under there, and some guy comes up and is like, hey, how's it going? Hey, I wanted to meet you. And I'm like, can you not see that I'm not only busy, but like, I'm obviously probably not in a great mood. Like, my car is leaking oil. I'm by here myself, jacking it up. I haven't even taken my helmet off yet, and it's like, later I'm like, man, like, I feel bad. That guy's probably going to think I'm a jerk, but like, he just met me at the wrong time, there's a good and a wrong time. And, just because we're YouTubers, like, if we're at a public event where it's not a meet and greet, like, I'm happy to meet people, but like that, we're not there to specifically to meet people, so like, we're there on our own time doing our own thing. We have things going on, like, I had people, I literally, like, in between sessions, I've got 30 minutes and I sit down and like bite into a sandwich, and they're like, hey, can you come take a picture over here with me? I'm like, dude, I'm just let me eat this before you ask me. Like,
yeah,
it's tough. And I get it, because to them, it's like, that's the big highlight of their day. They're meeting whoever it is, some YouTuber. And, if you aren't like, if you're busy or whatever, they're like, wow, he just is a jerk. He hates everybody. But it's like, No, they're just busy in that moment while they were doing that thing. So there's just, I mean, most people understand it. Most people come up and say, hey, nice to meet you. I'm sure you're busy. I'll get out of your hair, but I just wanted to say hi. And you're like, oh, thanks. Hi. But
Yeah.
it's tough. It's tough at times because people just don't understand that, like I'll literally be getting in my car to go to, and we have sessions. So let's say normal OSW event, we have 2 45-minute sessions. That's all we get to drive. We can't just drive the whole night. We're there for 6 hours, but there's 2 sessions where we get to drive. And I'm like getting in my car to go drive, and someone starts having a conversation with me, helmet on. And I'm like, I got to go. They're like, fine. And I'm like, dude, I'm here to drive. There's only 2 sessions. Like, I'm going to go drive. I'm sorry. I can't sit here and talk to you while everyone else is driving. I got to go drive. Like, I mean, they probably just don't understand how drift events work, that we're not just driving at our leisure. We're driving when we're allowed to drive. So it can be stressful sometimes. Most people are super cool.
Yeah, and I think it's the same balance of the comments, right? There's always going to be someone who has no understanding of anything that's going on.
Right.
And they just only watch 3 minutes and make a blind gesture of what's happening.
Yeah, and the worst, I would say, the people that you meet that are the worst about that are always the people who you can tell only want to meet you because you're a YouTuber. They don't actually follow your videos. They're not that interested. They might not even watch the video in years, but they know that you're a YouTuber and these other YouTubers who they do watch, and they just want to meet you because it's cool to meet you. Those are the ones who are usually the worst because they don't have any respect for you. They're just like, I just want a picture with him so I could say I met a YouTuber because that's cool. Whereas the ones who genuinely watch are always awesome. Like you meet them and they're like, hey, like, so you got the truck finished. That was cool that you did this. And, and then they're always the most like respectful ones. So it's interesting, like the dichotomy between the 2 types of people you'll meet.
Yeah. Well, speaking of the people so we posted on our Instagram and you reposted it to your follower base. We had in 7 hours. So before we got on the call, it was about 6.5 hours. There was over 300 questions asked. That's
wild.
By your followers, which is amazing. It just shows that you have an amazing community, right?
Right.
So we picked a couple questions from them, and we just want to ask a few to end the podcast here. And before we go into subscriber questions and the Instagram questions, Drew, do you have any final ones?
No. Let's hear some of the questions from subscribers. I think that sounds great.
All right. And I apologize to anyone whose question is not answered right now. We're going to do our best. Hopefully you heard a lot of the questions were answered during the podcast.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. Like, why did you start BMX? Why did you end BMX? That was a big one. One that is, I'm not going to call out someone specific, but you talked about drag racing. You brought it up and there's multiple questions. And as I scroll, maybe I'll hear someone's name. But a lot of people are asking, are you going to, begin drag racing?
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely on the agenda. It's something I really want to do. I do enjoy it a lot. And I mean, I haven't done it much, but I like watching it. I'm excited by it because it's something totally different. It's a totally different type of car to build. It's a totally different way to build a car. It's a totally different thing to do. It's just very different. And I don't know much about it. And it's like drifting, I know a lot about. I've done it for 10 years. I know a lot about drifting and drift cars. And I always end up building more drift cars. I'm like, I don't need any more drift cars. And I'm like, sell one. I'm going to build another drift car. There's so many drift cars I want to build. And I do push the drag stuff to the back burner, but I've got a little Silverado truck. I'm going to turbo that. And just, it's not necessarily, I will drag race it, but like I'll take it to the drag strip, but it's not a drag truck. I want it to still be a nice street truck. I like that truck, AC, stock seats, no cage. But then I want to build a full-on drag car. I'm definitely going to build a full-on drag car at some point.
Yeah, a lot of people were interested in that, and I'm glad that you brought it up too. So Daniel, and sorry to anyone if I butcher your name, I'm not very good at this, but Daniel _A_gearhead, he asked any plans for a late model drift car, 2015 and up. And I thought that was interesting because we clearly know nothing about drifting, but is there like a Is there a benefit to a early model versus a late model?
Well, the problem with the newer cars is they're expensive. And there is a thing that was learned in drifting, really, like Aaron Losey from Lone Star promoted this a lot. And it's kind of like the thought process in Japan. In America, we've had for a long time this mentality of like, you buy a 240 or something, you swap a V8, you build a drift car. And then what we kind of learned is that actually you're really better off leaving the car kind of alone. So like the stock 350Zs have become really popular because they've gotten cheap, but stock, they have enough power to drift. An old 240 doesn't really. So anyway, that mentality caught on. I got my drift vet. I bought a vet to start. I was like I was like the first grassroots person who did that. Nobody thought it would work. There was no angle kits. That's the hard part. There's got to be support. You either got to be really good at building stuff, or there's got to be support. It's like when I got my vet, there was no angle kits available or anything. So you know, like I had to have a guy, I didn't fabricate at the time, make me something to get more steering angle. But that aspect of keeping a car close to stock, like the closer to stock something is, the more reliable it is. Like the manufacturer designed that car to go hundreds of thousands of miles. And what I didn't learn until recently or realize is like, you know, these aftermarket parts you put on that's better, you know, that's designed by some people with like, you know, maybe a $5,000 R&D budget, whereas your car originally was designed with millions of dollars of R&D done to it. So anyway, newer cars benefit as you could keep them stock-ish, but I can't think of anything 2015 or newer that would be a good drift car. The C7 Corvette, a Mustang, but there's probably not much after. People don't really start drifting cars until they get cheap, until they get cheaper.
Well, it makes sense. It sounds like there's a lot of time that has to go into it. So
And just a lot of money.
Yeah.
To break it.
And so Jake and Blake 04, he asked about the drag car. So I want to make sure he gets a call out here. So you talked about the drift vet. While I'm scrolling for the next question, a lot of people ask, is there another drift vet coming?
The problem is, if I were to build another competition car, I would feel like I needed to sell my Miata. I don't like cars sitting. I don't like having a car and not using it, which is always a constant struggle in my head. Should I sell this car and get this car? Like there's so many different builds I want to do. And I would like to build a drift vet, but it goes back to what we talked about earlier with FD and the cost. I mean, it's just, I can't justify it. You know, I can't justify spending $30,000 or $40,000. I could probably get some sponsorships, but it's a lot of money and a lot of time, and to go get 4 practice laps and then hopefully do well in competition. But it's just what I like. The only reason I would really build a vet would be to do Pro 2, because my Miata is not legal for Pro 2 because it's too light and it's got like an aftermarket front subframe and this and that. And so I would have to build another car. And I've thought about doing it in general, but again, basically it goes back to, I would have to get rid of my Miata mentally. I would be like, I need to get rid of it. And I don't know that I ever could. I don't get sentimentally attached to cars pretty much at all. Like I've never had a problem just selling a car ever. But the Miata was like, I mean, it was the car that started my channel. It was the first car I've really built from the ground up. It was the first car I could actually afford to put nice parts on. So it would be hard for me to get rid of it. And if I still had it, like I don't need 2 competition drift cars, you know, I only need one of them. So maybe one day, but who knows?
I mean, it makes sense. And it definitely doesn't seem like you're sentimental to the cars, talking about, you know, I think you said in your video that was an hour, you had like 45 cars.
Yeah, it's like 40. It's got to be 45 by
now. So Noah_Hawk9, he asked, with the sponsorship from Milwaukee, is there anything that you would actually go out and buy on your own without having that?
I'm not really sponsored by Milwaukee. So sometimes if they come out with a new product, they'll send me like, they'll send me like, you get like an email and it's like, oh, this is our new product. And if I'm like, oh, I'd like to try that, like if they think it suits, they'll send it to me. And there's no like strings attached. There's no like, oh, you got to say these bullet points or anything. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of stuff that I have bought. I mean, I just bought a weed eater. I just bought a leaf blower. I bought my new mid-torque impact. I bought my air pump. I mean, there's a lot of, I mean, I get some Milwaukee tools for as like samples, but I buy probably most of them, or at least a lot of them.
Yeah, and I feel like with the day and age today, if you find a tool set that you like, you got to stick with it because the batteries and all the
Exactly. Yeah. No, that's a huge
Yeah.
thing I didn't
Yeah.
even realize. I'm lucky that I fell into Milwaukee, and that was like the first impact. I had an impact before it, but it was like a cheap old one. The first electric impact I bought was a Milwaukee. I was like comparing which one of these impacts is the best, this brand, or this brand. And the Milwaukee happened to be the best. And I'm so glad because I know people. I mean, I had someone message me about some new Milwaukee tool I was like had got, and they're like, man, like it makes me regret my investment into DeWalt tools because like Milwaukee to me is the most car oriented. They have a lot of car related stuff that other people don't, because I think the construction industry is probably a lot bigger than the car industry. So that's kind of why I fell into them anyway and using them. But because now, I have a bunch of each type of battery, the M18 and the M12. So
Yep.
any tool, I can just go buy the bare tool, and I've got plenty of batteries and chargers, and I don't have to have 3, 4, 5 different chargers.
And you don't have to forget like, oh crap, in my van or in my trailer, I've got DeWalt tools, and
Right.
yeah, you don't have to mess. It's you got to choose a path, and you got to go down with tools.
Yeah, pretty
So,
much.
Q Michael C asked, how have your relationships changed with other YouTubers over the years?
I mean, none have really changed that much. I mean, I haven't. Me and Adam were probably like a good bit closer when I first started my channel. Or really, I mean, really up until I moved. I think a lot of people don't realize that when I moved in with Ben, I lived an hour and a half away. So it wasn't that like I didn't go hang out with Adam. It was just like I was an hour and a half away. So and also, I guess our relationship hasn't changed as much as like we've changed with like now if I go stop by Adam's shop and see him, instead of us filming it, we just like enjoy catching up and seeing each other. And
Yeah.
same in events, like we both go to Clutch Kickers and we'll talk and hang out and whatever, but we just don't, we understand that like we have our own cameras in our faces enough. We don't go shoving a camera in each other's face. And I mean, we probably should more so people know we're still friends, but it's just one of those things. Like I don't even think about it anymore. I'm just like, oh, cool. I talked to him like I talked to anyone else. And people are like, oh, Adam was at the same event as you and you guys didn't talk. Is there anyone else? I mean, the only thing I would say one thing that's changed for me is I've just, I used to go out and hang out more, like just spend time hanging out with people in general, not just friends on YouTube. And I don't do it as much now. I just work, like I just hang out at my house and work on my cars. That's like what I like doing the most. So I definitely just don't go out and socialize as much as I used to in general, but that's just like one of those things. I'm just like, I'd rather stay home and get something done than just like go hang out and not get anything done, which I still hang out with friends, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I feel like, that change is normal for a relationship like that. Like you became good friends. There's no need for you guys to film it, but at the same time, your subscribers saw that change and they saw the drop off. So they automatically assume the worst.
Yeah. Every time.
I'm glad a lot of people asked a similar question. I'm glad Q Michael C worded it in a very, very clean way. So,
right.
I've got two more. So this guy, Hard Bottom Specialist, he asked a ton of questions. So I'm just trying to so this is the question I was going to ask. What's your dream build? So if you were to go back and talk to 8-year-old Taylor, I don't know if that's the dream build or if the dream has changed, but if you were to build a car today, what would it be?
Man, that's tough. That's tough. I would say it would be something 80s, 90s that we couldn't get here. Like there's so many. Because there's so many different categories of dream builds. It'd be something lightweight and good handling from ideally the 90s, some cool 90s era car. I'm trying to think of a good one, specific one. anyway, that with like a high revving V8 or V10 like race engine and just like sequential transmission and whatever, like a race car that's not necessarily designed to be the fastest car, but designed to be the most visceral, like an engine that revs to 12,000 RPM and sequential shifter and in something unique in like 80s or 90s. I can't think of a good car that'd be like front engine rear wheel drive, but there's a lot. There's like I want to build. I really want like a vintage-ish car, something from 60s, 50s, 60s, 70s, I guess, maybe that new. Something with it's just mechanical, I really want that. And that's kind of like something I really want right now. I mean, in a drag car, a crazy drag car, I guess I can't really nail down one dream build. It's really hard. There's so many constant circle in my head of like, oh man, I've always wanted to build this. So like, I'm going to do that next. And then halfway through it, I'm like, man, I've always wanted to build one of these. Like, I don't even care about this one anymore. I want to do that. So it's always changing.
Yeah. And I can imagine the history you have with cars and the amount of time that you spend thinking and being around cars, your mind has to wander through every era, right? You went through 60s and then you even question yourself right there, just saying, do I even want to go that late? I'm like, oh, okay. So you're thinking like, so it's interesting to see your mind work on that. So the last question I have is from Stu Bob 112. Who asked a lot of questions as well. He asked a pretty interesting one, and it goes back to something we didn't even get to talk about, which is the simulator. And he said, will you ever set up a simulator drifting community so we can all go with you? I never thought about how that would work or what that is, or if you've ever thought about something like that.
Like a server, maybe?
Maybe, yeah. Yeah, have you ever heard of Strava? Is it Strava? No, there's a biking app that you can go on a bike rides like cycle.
Right.
Yeah.
So probably like a server, because online when you play you can set up a server. I've thought about it. I haven't even played myself in so long. I haven't had time. I've been like just always playing catch up. I haven't even it's right over here. Look, it's right there. It's not even fully plugged in yet. My Ben's been yelling at me to do it so that we can play, because someone made my car and they made his car and we hadn't even got to stand them together yet because it was like right before I moved, and then I just haven't set it up. But yeah, no, I should do that. I should set up a server, a Discord server and a Aceto server, if that's what he's talking about. I'm pretty sure.
I think so.
That's what he
means. Hopefully one day, Stu Bob, you can ride with Taylor Ray. And man, that's all I have. That was an awesome time talking. Sorry we went over the time.
Oh no, I love talking. I love talking. Yeah, you could probably tell.
We could probably. I have pages of notes from today and the past couple of days, because I take my notes over a couple of days, but didn't even get to half of them. Maybe next time. Drew and I both love when we were chatting on our pre-call, we were in New Smyrna Beach.
Right.
So if we're down there soon, we can all get together, go to Yellow Dog Eats out there, maybe go surfing. And
that would be fun.
And get some free time together. So I appreciate everything. I loved listening to all the stories. For all of our listeners, thank you so much for getting to this point. And if you're not subscribed, make sure you get over to his channel, follow it, check out his Instagram. Do you have Twitter or any other socials that you want to plug?
Mainly just YouTube and Instagram. That's about it. I have a Facebook, but I don't really use it either.
Yeah, we're on the same boat.
2 is enough for me. I can't keep up with any more than that.
Same. So check them out on Instagram and on YouTube. We'll link it down below, as well as I know you worked with someone from Miata Merch. They made a t-shirt for you, right?
Yeah, long time ago.
Okay, well, we'll link that. Maybe someone will get a t-shirt out of it. So I don't know if you sell your own merch.
I do. Oh, it's garagebuiltco.com.
Garagebuilt Co. We'll link that down below as well. So, hey man, I appreciate the time. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It was an amazing conversation.
Thank you guys for having me. I've really enjoyed it.
Thanks, Taylor.
See you guys later, I'm sure.
Yeah.
All right.
hopefully in
Yeah,
Florida.
sounds great.